If you've been watching the channel lately, then you know that I recently upgraded my Canon M50 vlogging setup for 2020 and I am stoked about it. So in this video, I'm going to share with you every detail of every piece of gear I'm using to get the shot that you're seeing right now. So this includes my Canon M50 mirrorless camera, of course, my new compact travel vlogging gimbal, the amazing new vlogging lens that works beautifully with the Canon M50, my wireless mic, and the way I'm using my iPhone as a monitor to monitor everything. Hi friend, I'm Alicia and this is AMA-TV, where I help you level up your travel vlogging and video production skills. And in this video, I'm going to show you the new travel vlogging setup that I have put together to use in 2020 with my Canon M50 mirrorless camera. Now this vlogging setup is very minimalist in the sense that it covers all bases with the most streamlined amount of gear as possible. And when you go for minimalist packing, you also want to consider every single way that you can cut down on size and weight and space in your travel bags, which is why I am so happy to feature Eggtronic as a sponsor for this video. They are an Italian engineering company who has created an entirely new type of power adapter called Sirius that will charge your laptop. Look at the size of this thing. Okay, this thing is so tiny, it's like smaller than my G7X charger. So never did I ever know that there was any other way to charge your MacBook with anything besides the adapter that Apple gives you, because MacBooks need a certain amount of power. Now, Sirius has 65 watts of power and it charges your laptop twice as fast as the Apple adapter. So it's obviously a much better choice than your Apple power adapter, and it will charge anything else in your gear kit that is USB-C powered. So for me right now, that is the gimbal, it's the mics, it's my GoPro. I know some newer drones are USB-C powered, so just depending on how much stuff you have, this could probably charge a lot of it. And this features an automatic smart detection of the amount of wattage and volts that each device needs, so it's sure to be compatible with anything you plug it into, and it's going to charge everything up super fast. So think about how much weight and space you could save in your travel bag with a charger like this. So I'll put a link to it in the video description below if you want to learn more about Eggtronic or the Sirius charger, and thank you again, Eggtronic, for sponsoring this video. Okay, so unfortunately, at the moment, I really don't think that the perfect vlogging camera exists. That's something that a lot of people agree with right now. However, I think the name of the game is to simply find the camera that checks off the most boxes, the most important boxes, and then figure out what kind of add-ons and accessories and hacks you can implement to fill in the gaps for the things the camera doesn't do, which is exactly what my vlogging setup is designed to do. But rather than just show you what gear I have and tell you about it, I'm going to present a list of the things that I think a vlogging camera setup should do and should have in order to get me the shots that I want. So this list will be our roadmap throughout this video. Number one, affordable. To keep comparisons fair, we're going to keep this gear in the affordable category. So it's certainly not cheap, but it also isn't the most expensive professional production gear on the market. This is considered the prosumer category. Number two, compact camera body. Obviously the smaller the better, but of course I'm willing to deal with some degree of size. The goal here is for it to be small enough to comfortably bring along traveling. Number three, impressive image quality. To me, this means the image should have decent dynamic range and use a sensor size that is at least 1 inch like on the G7X, but more preferably an APS-C or crop sensor camera. We could move into talking about full frame cameras here, but that would destroy both points 1 and 2. Number four, awesome autofocus. I consider this a core function of a camera, and if there's one thing we learned about the G7X Mark III fiasco, it's that core functions matter and we cannot forget about them ever again. Number five, video capabilities. So one major thing that defines a camera is its shooting capabilities at different frame rates and different sizes. The requirement I listed here isn't asking for much, but it is asking for what I feel everybody needs and every camera needs. Number six, flip out screen with an unobstructed cold shoe mount. So for vlogging, I consider the ability to frame up your shot an absolute necessity as the person both in front of the camera and behind the camera, so to speak, and I also prefer the flip out screen rather than the flip up screen, which will obstruct your cold shoe mount and then you can't put other things on it. I don't know who designed that. Number 7, a large aperture lens. So the large aperture is the smaller number, think 1.4, 1.8, or 2.2. It's going to give you that awesome performance in low light situations, and it's also going to give you that pro look that comes with the shallow depth of field. So you can create that background blur or that bokeh, and generally just keep your subject the highlight of the shot. Number 8, great audio. I don't need mind-blowing audio. I just want audio that is clear, isn't distracting, and is easy and works well. I don't really love messing with audio, so I just want it to be easy and be done. Number 9, super stabilized. So with the rise of gimbal affordability and with the technology being built into action cameras these days, I'd say we're more and more at a place where camera shake is unacceptable beyond the occasional like raw style vlogging shot. So this smooth, super stabilized video is an absolute must. Plus, it just looks so good. So good. So now that we know what we're looking for, let's take a look at the vlogging setup and I'll explain exactly how it meets each of these needs. Starting with the camera. So the Canon M50, I am surprised yet thrilled to say, has become my favorite vlogging camera in 2020. It's surprising because I bought it in late 2018, really not sure if I was gonna like it, not sure how long I would keep it, and then kind of just ended up using it as a studio camera a lot of the time, and I was still kind of vlogging with the G7X Mark II. And you know, just as they released, all other companies released other cameras throughout the year, they still weren't as good as the M50, in my opinion. So I just became more and more impressed with it. And then with the G7X Mark III fiasco, that coming out and just being a terrible camera pretty much, and then other point and shoot cameras not really nailing the mark, I really just decided to embrace the M50 as a vlogging camera and actually use it for vlogging, because it's really the only way to get the shot that you really want, or that I really wanted at least. So here are some reasons that I think the M50 is really an amazing vlogging camera. Number 1, the Canon M50 is the smallest and most affordable detachable lens camera made by Canon, or at least one of them at this point. So unlike the larger DSLRs, the M50 is a mirrorless camera, and as long as you remain with the EFM mount lenses, which are native to the camera, it does remain pretty small. It's also very versatile in the fact that you can attach the larger EFM mount lenses, you know, with an adapter and all of that. And of course it gets larger at that point, but the beauty of it is that it can go either way. The current cost of the M50 is just $599 with the kit lens, which is a really great value for a camera that is this awesome. And on top of that, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others, because it is a Canon camera, it's going to have just a little bit better imagery and color science and also functionality with the menus and buttons and everything. So Canon shooters tend to get addicted to shooting on Canon. So the fact that it's Canon is just a big bonus in itself. Number 2, the M50 just kind of nails the basics and is perfect for beginners. So it has everything beginners need to capture awesome imagery and photos, and it allows for a lot of growth and expansion if you want to really level up your skills with the additional lenses and everything else. It does have Canon's famous dual pixel autofocus, so there are no autofocus issues whatsoever, and it does have all the video shooting capabilities that I think a camera needs. Now, they're not all of the capabilities, they're just the important ones, and believe it or not all cameras now have these capabilities. A lot of cameras are getting rid of 24 frames a second, and guess what? The M50 still has it. It's also important to say that the M50 is a great camera to downsize to if you are switching from a DSLR, as I did. So it's kind of marketed as this beginner camera, so it felt weird to downsize because I've been using Canon DSLRs ever since I was a photography major in college, which was a very long time ago. So it felt like a downgrade in some way, but it really hasn't been. It has all the same capabilities, if not better, and it has not disappointed me in any way. Plus the smaller size is amazing. Number 3 is the M50's physical setup. So I think it's absolutely perfect with the flip out screen, not the flip up screen. In case you're wondering why I wouldn't choose Canon's M6 Mark II, that's got the flip up screen. And like I said earlier, it obstructs the cold shoe mount, which is very important for video. So right now I've got the mic mounted up on top, which I'll talk about in a minute, or you can mount up like a video light, which I do often. This is the Lume Cube. So it's great to have that up there for just an extra pop of light. Either way, you just want that cold shoe mount free, I think. And it also has the absolutely necessary external audio input, so you can use a mic. And that is what the G7X Mark II, which I'm shooting on, does not have, which is why I'm actually recording my audio on this camera as we speak, and I'm gonna sync it up later. But who wants to do all that? The only reason I'm doing all that is because I'm making a video where I'm talking about this camera. Anyway, this is good for shooting the videos, having the external audio input, necessity. Overall, the Canon M50 just has a lot of bells and whistles that any vlogger would want, including time-lapse settings, slow motion at 60 frames a second, and the option to attach a range of lenses, thanks to the fact that you can use Canon's EF and EF-S mount lenses on it with the use of an adapter, which I do all the time. And by the way, if you are looking to learn more about the best settings for vlogging on the Canon M50, I have both a video tutorial and a free PDF cheat sheet download that I will link to below. So you can grab that and really learn how to maximize this camera's capabilities and get the best shots. And it will also be good if you jump on that email list, because I'm really going full force with teaching people what they want to know about the Canon M50 in 2020, because I think it's just becoming so popular and there's really a thirst for knowledge about it. So if you jump on that email list, you can stay updated with everything that I am putting out there Canon M50 information-wise. So going back to the list to see what's left, we will see that we have the large aperture, which is all in the lens, of course. And as weird as it is to say, prior to the fall of 2019, there did not exist a lens with a large aperture that was wide enough for vlogging on the Canon M50 that was not huge with the need of an adapter or just like insanely expensive with the need of an adapter. So thanks to Sigma releasing this lens just a few months ago, it has like changed everything for this camera. So this is the Sigma 16mm EFM mount, which is the native mount, so no adapter needed, 1.4 aperture lens. I mean, I would have been happy with a 1.8, but 1.4, oh my gosh, this lens is amazing. I like to think this 16mm was created in careful consideration of vloggers, because when you are using a crop sensor camera, you do need a lens this wide, if not wider, in order to capture that classic handheld front-facing vlogging shot. Add the gorgeous 1.4 aperture to the lens and you suddenly have this shallow depth of field, blurry background, bright shot that is just gonna look so good. So much better than the M50 kit lens. And if you do find yourself in a lower light situation as a vlogger, this of course happens all the time. We don't control the light around us. The 1.4 is going to have you much more covered than I think the 3.5 aperture, which is on the kit lens. So this lens for vlogging is definitely worth the investment, definitely worth the extra weight on the camera, and it just works and looks so well. And of course, I made an entire video reviewing this lens, so check that out if you'd like to learn more and if you'd like to see more of this delicious B-roll. This lens costs, I think, around $450 right now, and if you aren't about to grab a lens that costs almost as much as the camera, I completely understand. You absolutely can get by with the kit lens. It is absolutely wide enough for vlogging, of course, and it zooms into 45mm. So that's a good place to start, but you will want this one eventually. So come talk to me then. No. And also another thing that's very important is a neutral density filter. If you want to stick with that 1.4 in brighter conditions, you're going to need to darken the shot in order to stick to that. I'll do a whole video on neutral density filters at some point. I know a lot of you guys had questions. And this one that I use is a variable ND filter, so you just kind of twist it and it gets lighter or darker, which is really convenient for just like quickly changing your shot. But yeah, I don't know if this is the best ND filter. I need to kind of test a few before I do a video on one, but hopefully I'll be able to do that soon. All right, so check that aperture box and we're moving on to great audio. So to capture great audio while vlogging, the only thing to use, I think, is the Rode Wireless Go. So this is, again, the first of its kind. This mic was released earlier this year. I did a whole review video on it and I've just been loving it ever since. It's just so easy, so simple, so effortless. It's just this little piece right here, clips onto your cold shoe mount. If you don't want to put it on your cold shoe mount, it's light enough that you could put it on the camera strap. I've seen even people use like sticky tape and just stick it to the camera, and then you've just got this little transmitter right here. So you can string up a lav mic, which is a little bit smaller, or you can just speak directly into it. And one of my favorite things to do with it is kind of pass this thing around and clip it to my little girl.
With the other ones, I need them.
And let her run around so I can actually get like up close audio of her little thoughts, because that's something I could never do otherwise. And I don't know, that just means so much to me. So I'm absolutely in love with this mic. It is my vlogging mic and it's awesome because the battery life is so long on this. You can just keep it on in between shots. So if you're vlogging, you want to turn your camera off obviously in between shots because your camera battery is not super long. But this is like 8 hours long, so you can just kind of leave it on. Oh, and the other thing about this mic is that it's just so tiny and discreet. It doesn't attract attention or add just like a mess to your vlogging setup. So like gone are the days where I will ever put a shotgun mic on the cold shoe mount with like a dead cat and, you know, go around vlogging like that. I know a lot of people do that. Some people think it looks cool. I don't want that there. And all those times, there were many times where I would just want to get a shot and just be like, oh, I know I should hook that thing up for better audio, but I just wouldn't. So this makes it easy because I'm never like, oh, I don't want to attract attention with this tiny black box. It's fine. Okay, so back to our chart, we can check off audio and see that the only thing left is stabilization. Now, the stabilization on the Canon M50 isn't amazing, and really no free-floating camera is going to have stabilization so perfect that it can handle the type of movement that we like to see in video. So previously, we did have the option to put a mirrorless camera on like a bigger DSLR gimbal, but seriously, those things are so big and so heavy, they're probably not worth it to lug around travel vlogging unless you do have like a client and a professional video production thing that you're doing. But thankfully, I have found an awesome gimbal that is not only affordable, it seems to be made exactly for cameras of this size. So it used to be like the big gimbals and the small gimbals for the GoPros and the smartphones, and then the big gimbals for the DSLRs. You could put the mirrorless on the big gimbal, but now you can put the mirrorless on the small gimbal, and that's exactly what this gimbal is, which is why it's so exciting. So this is the Feotech G6 Max, and in the very last video on this channel, I reviewed it thoroughly, so check that out if you'd like to learn all the details and see all the footage. This gimbal can hold a lot of weight for its size, and it can not only hold the Canon M50, it can hold the M50 with the Sigma 16mm lens. And when I found that out, and when I put it all together, I was just mind blown, because it was like suddenly every little problem I had with the M50, lack of stabilization and the lack of a great lens, was solved. So that's why this is so amazing, all together as one unit. And the way I see it, you're not really adding that much extra gear with the gimbal, believe it or not, because I would always use a GorillaPod or some kind of hand grip, some kind of thing to put the camera on. So this kind of eliminates that, and you get the added bonus of having obviously stabilization, and also the battery that lives inside this thing is so big that once it's charged up, you can then take it and charge your camera with it. Now that does not work on the Canon M50 because it is not supported by USB charging, but it does work on the Sony cameras. And like I said, I think I said this earlier, I do think that the next version of the M50 might have a USB-C charging input. And if you're not using the M50 yet, you can use this gimbal with smaller cameras like the Canon G7X, Sony RX100, or the comparable Sony cameras like the A6400, 6600, of course, and then with the GoPro, smartphone, things like that. So it's a great gimbal to sort of grow into if you're not using a mirrorless camera yet, but you want to purchase one in the future. This gimbal can handle it, and it's really just as small as any other gimbal that would be made to use with a GoPro. It's really small. That's it. Now, you can balance this gimbal with the screen flipped out for vlogging, but I think that's a little awkward to be flipping things around on the camera if you're switching between like your vlogging shots and then B-roll shots. So what is awesome to do is to mount a monitor to the side of the gimbal via this little screw. And better yet, not even a monitor. What I'm doing is mounting my phone. I said my camera phone. My camera phone. No, mounting my phone to the side via this little handy extension, I don't know, phone clamp bracket that I actually had from my original DJI Osmo, which was like a built-in gimbal camera thing in one. It's a really nice mount. It's a very high quality, and it just kind of expands and holds your phone. And let me put it all together to show you how it works. So there it is right there with my phone attached. And this isn't so much for the vlogging shots, because like you really need to see yourself. It is more for like if you're doing these like low down shots, and then you can really adjust the monitor exactly where you want it to be. Because when you're using a gimbal and the gimbal motor is on, you don't really want to be touching your camera too much because it makes the motor's a little bit angry. So it's better to just be able to adjust the things that aren't part of the balance, I think. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here with the phone, it is, I'm using the Canon Connect app. So it's a like a Wi-Fi transfer service that the M50 and really I think all Canon cameras work with, except the G7X is not supported in video on the Canon Connect app. but the M50 is. And it's so much easier to just have this little clamp as like a no-brainer for packing, because if I get into this place where I'm like, am I gonna use a monitor? Am I gonna wanna go that far? Do I need a monitor? I just probably won't bring it, or I probably won't bring it along the day I'm going shooting. But this clamp grip is all I need to pack. And of course I already have my phone on me, so it just makes it super simple. And I know after the last video I made, a lot of you had questions about how to balance the gimbal, because I said it was a tricky thing and it deserved its own video. And I am gonna make an entire video about how to balance this gimbal. But I also wanted to answer the question a lot of you had, which was like, is this too heavy at this point to vlog with? Because this is a real thing. I think Casey Neistat really put it in everyone's head that like, you can go and vlog with a Canon 80D and a GorillaPod and a shotgun mic and all this other stuff, and it's no big deal. It is a big deal. Vlogging setups get heavy. But if I take off this tripod footing, which we won't need for vlogging, and I'm holding it like this, yes, it's heavy. Okay, that's not fair. I was resting my elbow. Yes, it's heavy, but the way I vlog is really to just like say something to the camera. Oh, and by the way, we can triple tap to just make it turn around. So handy. Yeah, so I will just like say a few things to the camera, maybe show like what I'm doing or just like share a few thoughts, but I'm never rambling to the camera. I'm never talking to the camera for a long period of time, so I'm not holding this up for a long period of time. If I have to do like multiple takes for some reason, then that might be tricky, but I don't know. Overall, I think a lot of you might be stronger than me. It's heavy-ish, but it's not too heavy. Like I would never be like, oh no, I can't do this because it's too heavy. It's not too heavy. It would get heavy after a while. So, and then of course, taking off the monitor would help. But no, I'm totally fine with this because I'm gonna be switching between this, double tap to bring it back around. Yeah, and then just going and shooting some B-roll stuff. And overall, I'm not gonna be holding it for too long of a time for any one amount of time. And there you have it, my new travel vlogging setup for 2020. I am so excited to take this out this year and film some amazing stuff. I am gonna be traveling a lot more this year than I have in previous years, so this will be great for capturing all the best footage. And if you have any questions about this setup or any of these individual pieces, please leave me a comment below and let me know your questions, your thoughts, if you've got advice for other pieces of gear that you think would work better, or if you have had any experience with any of these things. I would love to hear about it. Everyone would love to hear about it. We like to make the comments section like a nice little community where everyone helps each other out, so we can all become better travel vloggers. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and do so. Hit that notification bell as well, because there's going to be a lot more content that is going to help you level up your travel vlogging skills and video production skills in general in 2020. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today for this video. I'm Alicia, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.